Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more relationship stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. And let's crack on with today's first story, which comes from a throwaway account and says, "Am I the asshole for asking my friend not to cook beef burgers in my home? I, 29 female, have been friends with Jane, 29 female, for most of my life. She is like a sister to me. Jane is not vegan, but my family and I are. My mother is especially strict about animal products being brought into the house, and I share her values. This has never been an issue, and Jane and her family have always been accommodating and mindful of this. Obviously, Jane was welcome to wear whichever clothes she wanted in our home, but my mum asked her if she wanted to eat at ours, that she ate our meals, or if she wanted to bring snacks, that they were free of animal products. This was never an issue. Fast forward to last weekend. Jane has recently started dating Brian, 34 male. They live about 3 hours away from me, so I offered to host them for the weekend. They arrived late on Friday, and I had already cooked and had dinner ready. They both seemed happy with the food. However, the morning after I wake up and they are gone, I message Jane and she tells me they left to get groceries. I thought it was a little weird since my fridge was packed, but didn't question it. When they came back, I see that they have brought beef burgers and expected to be able to cook them for lunch. I was a bit surprised and asked Jane if she had forgotten about my rule. She sheepishly admits that no, she hadn't, she just didn't think I would mind this one time. Brian is one big question mark. I thought about dropping it, but it made me uncomfortable. Not just because I don't like the food myself, but because she went behind my back and put me in an awkward position with her new partner. I pulled her aside and told her as much, and she begged me to drop it. Turns out she hadn't told Brian about my boundaries on this because they are embarrassing. I reiterated that the boundaries were still in place and kindly asked her not to cook the food in my home. I offered to go out and get plant-based burgers instead, but she doubled down and called me a weirdo and stuck up. This was a shock to me because never in my 20 plus years of knowing her has she ever mentioned this being an issue, and to be honest, her words hurt. I told her to please pack her stuff and leave. She stormed off and told Brian that they were leaving. She later texted me, calling me an arsehole for embarrassing her. Brian, bless his heart, had absolutely no idea what was going on. I don't blame him for bringing the food into my house, but Jane should have known better. I feel bad about the fight. I know my rules are not conventional and likely feel strange and inconvenient to those who have different dietary requirements. With that said, no one is forced to stay at my house and my boundaries are clear. I don't know if I should have dropped this or not. Am I the arsehole? Now for me on this one, absolutely not the arsehole at all. I'm a meat eater and I'd have no problem respecting your rules within your own home, and I would just be incredibly grateful that you offered to host for the weekend, and I'd be very, very thankful of that. And you know, she knew the rules coming into this. Oh, and so do I. Bit of Rick there. So there is just like no excuse for her behavior, and I just find that really weird, you know, that she's gone out, bought these burgers in and just trying to guilt you into letting her cook these burgers there. Almost like if I bring them in and then she can't do nothing about it anyway because they're there now. They are not embarrassing boundaries at all, and you shouldn't feel bad about enforcing them at all. They should be respected within your home. But let's check out some comments to see what they say. But Bad Advice Giver says, "I'm not a vegan, but I have no problem with your no animal products rule at all. She should have followed it. Your house, your rules, not the arsehole." Baltimore Badger says, "I love eating meat, and you know what I'd do if I spent the weekend at your house? Not eat meat, and thank you for your hospitality. Not the arsehole." Bizbag Wiz says, "Not the arsehole, but I just want to introduce another potential aspect of the situation that no one seems to have brought up yet. How much do you know about this Brian? Have you ever met him before? What do you know about their relationship? Because my first thought was that there might be some serious red flags with Brian. If Jane has respected your household rules with no issues for nearly 3 decades and suddenly brings meat for Brian, then logic would tell us that Brian is the problem since he is the only change to the situation. Maybe he's the type to get violent or angry when told he can't have something, and Jane decided it would be easier to piss you off rather than him because of the potential emotional or physical consequences of saying no to him. I'm not saying that Jane is definitely in an abusive or unhealthy relationship, or it's unquestionably Brian's fault. I think anyone who's seen a friend slowly become a different person after dating a guy who seemed perfectly charming on the outside, but was a monster underneath. If you really care about Jane, you should at least consider this possibility and try to have a one-on-one conversation about it with her before you write her off completely. Backwater Quilter says, not the arsehole. I don't understand why the rule is embarrassing. Veganism isn't some sort of fringe uncommon practice that the boyfriend hasn't ever heard of. Like someone previously said, it's an easy conversation. Hey, my friend is vegan, so no meat in our house. If we want meat, we'll have to go out. I'm an avid meat eater, but I have never met or dated someone that wouldn't be understanding of this. And there was a couple of comments that was on the other side, if you like. One says, you're the arsehole, but I suspect you can't see it. A good host accommodates their guests and doesn't impose their beliefs on them. How would you feel to be told that you have to eat non-vegan while staying with a friend because they don't believe in it? Anyway, OP then went on to update the post, which says, I know Reddit appreciates updates, so I thought I'd give you one. Thanks to everyone who took the time to engage with the post. I appreciate it. This happened last weekend, and due to the character limit on the post, I didn't include any of our communications this week after the fact. I host dinner parties for friends and family on the regular. My guests know to expect fully vegan meals. I'm a rather good cook, though I say myself, and take pride in my dishes. I regularly do full Indian dinners, Mediterranean with a twist, Chinese, or even just everyday comfort foods like mac and cheese, homemade soups and bread, Italian, and there's always desserts. There's quite some misconception in place around vegan cuisine, and that is nothing more than rabbit feed and tofu. I enjoy introducing people to the other side, the one with spices. No one leaves my home hungry unless they really want to. As I mentioned in the previous post, Jane and Brian left mine on Saturday. Jane messaged me soon after they left, and she was too emotional for me to want to respond. I was in a bit of shock, so I thought it would be best to cool off and have the conversation later. On Sunday evening, I called her, only for her to hang up on me. I messaged her and asked her to give me a call when she was ready. On Wednesday, she called me, and to make a long story short, she expected me to apologize. I told her that I was sorry the trip ended this way, but I wasn't sorry for enforcing my rules in my own home. Rules that she has known and followed since she was 9. She kept fighting me on it and insisted that it was a stupid rule that people eat meat, get over it. I simply responded with, not in my home they don't. She then hung up again. On Friday morning, I woke up to a Facebook message request from Brian. I accepted it and he thanked me for hosting them and apologized for overstepping. I assured him that he did nothing wrong, and if Jane hadn't told him, there was no way for him to know. As a side note, I cooked spaghetti bolognese for them on Friday, and apparently he didn't even realize it wasn't vegan. Perhaps I should have told him it was, but according to Jane, he had no allergies, so I just cooked and served. They both enjoyed the meal. Afterwards, we had sorbet and black coffee, and no comments there either. Brian then told me that she had indeed told him. Side note, in case this is confusing, Brian didn't respond with this information until after I'd posted my first post. He works long hours, and we wrapped up our Friday chat last night when we had time to chat. This morning, after I slept in and they woke up before me and helped themselves to breakfast in my downstairs kitchen, he'd asked for milk in his coffee and she told him I only had oat. That sparked a conversation and she told him I'm vegan. According to him, he didn't mind. He then suggested that they go out and shop for lunch and cook for us. During that shopping trip, he suggested burgers and Jane said it was fine. They got beef and got me some plant-based sausages. Once they arrived at mine and he saw how uncomfortable I was, he realized that Jane hadn't been honest, hence him looking like a walking question mark. I can only imagine how uncomfortable he must have felt standing like this in someone else's home with nowhere else to go and no real rapport with the homeowner. At this point in the conversation, I was getting upset. Jane had knowingly put us in this position and embarrassed everyone. There was no need for this, and if Brian is to be believed, then he had no problem with eating vegan for the weekend. I thanked him for contacting me and I told him I'd have a word with Jane. He asked me to let him have a word with her first to make sure there was no misunderstanding on his part. Well, apparently Brian wasn't happy with this either, and he broke things off with Jane today. She called me absolutely hysterical this morning and told me that they had a massive fight last night that lasted well into the morning. He stormed out and told her it was over. I tried my best to console her, but she is very hurt and shocked. I told her to get some sleep and call me again later in the day. Around 4 p.m, she called me again and apologized. She didn't get into the nitty-gritty of the fight, but it turns out that their relationship, albeit short, has been on shaky legs for a couple of weeks. She admitted that she does indeed think I'm a little stuck up for my rules, but doesn't say anything since it's never been a real inconvenience for her. Wanting to keep Brian happy, she just went along with his suggestions at the grocery store and hoped I'd make an exception. She's angry with us both for going behind her back to discuss it. But after I sent her the conversation I had with Brian, she said she understood. So that's where we are right now. Jane is my oldest and best friend, and she made a bad call. She was feeling stressed about her relationship and struggling to keep face, and she lashed out. I can forgive that, and I will. I've invited her to come over between Christmas and New Year so we can heal our friendship. And I've got to say at the end of this one, the friends should consider themselves real lucky that Opie is going this way about their friendship, continuing to, to try and forgive and move on. I found myself personally getting exhausted and fed up with the hanging up and the rudeness over the phone conversations. And when OP mentioned that vegan bolognese, someone made me a vegan bolognese once before, and it was absolutely, I couldn't tell the difference either, much like Brian. But I just don't get the lack of thought from Jane's point of view. You're going around someone's house who you've been going around there for decades, it says in the post, and this one time you think, oh, they're going to make an exception on this meat for a boundary that's been going on for decades, just because you got a new boyfriend. Come on now. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Let's move on to another story. Now this next one's got a bit of a random title. It's from Stealer of Underwear, who says, am I the arsehole for borrowing my husband's underwear? So I, 28 female, am about 7 to 8 months pregnant. And while I've thankfully not gained a lot of weight, my belly has grown a lot, and I find that most of my underwear is too small and cuts into my side/bottom of my belly. After a while, I start getting a rash in the places where it was too tight, due to friction, I guess. So one day I was getting dressed and I was getting frustrated about the rash and the underwear being too small. So I figured I'd try on a pair of my husband's 29 male boxers. They're size large and too big for me, but oh my god, it was the most comfortable thing I've ever tried on in my life. Breezy and loose, and even the places where I had the rash didn't hurt. My husband had already left for work for the day, so I decided to just borrow them. At the end of the day, we both come home and I tell him that I borrowed his underwear and asked if it was okay to continue borrowing some until the baby comes. Less than 2 months left, or at least until the rash is better. He seemed a bit weirded out but said it was okay. Fast forward a few days and we're going to bed, and he flips out at me and asks me why I'm wearing his good bamboo underwear. I'm confused, but he points at the band where it says bamboo. Then he goes on a long rant about how his few pairs of bamboo underwear are the comfiest and best quality, etc, etc. I swear, this is not an ad for bamboo underwear. I apologized and said I just picked the pair off the top, just like I did the other times. But he was upset and said I wasn't allowed to borrow his underwear anymore. I said I wouldn't borrow the ones that said bamboo on them since it bothered him, but he just drew a hard line saying I should go buy bigger underwear for myself and stop stealing his. Now I'm thinking this is probably more about how he actually doesn't want me to borrow his underwear, and he's actually using me accidentally taking the wrong pair as an excuse, but I'm not sure. So anyway, Reddit, am I the arsehole for thinking my husband should let me borrow his underwear, or am I just entitled? Edits. Due to the character limits, I had to remove some to make the edit, so I picked the parts people told me weren't relevant to the argument. I just wanted to thank everyone for sharing their opinions. This sure was a heated topic for many. My husband and I had a good time reading some of the responses. Our favorite was the guy who said he'd kill anyone who touches his bamboo underwear. We agreed that it would be wise to buy some maternity underwear for me that I can use after the birth too. Thank you for all the great suggestions. I hope you all have a lovely day. I'm finally off to sleep. Now, I've never heard of bamboo underwear before, but I gotta say, and this is purely from my perspective, I wouldn't see a problem with that at all. I wouldn't be bothered by it. She's pregnant, and if it's comfortable for her, and that's all there is to it. Obviously, down the road, we'd have to get some more underwear that's more suitable, because I wouldn't want someone stealing my keks long term. So, that's the solution to it. But initially, I don't think I'd be bothered by it at all. But Fun2 says, not the arsehole, just keep the new ones you brought for yourself. And Opie responds saying, yeah, in hindsight, it would have been the easier solution, although I don't think he would be happy if I'd bought myself men's underwear. Edit. I didn't know how to comment this, so it would show up for everyone, so I'm just to edit this comment. I showed my husband some of the funnier comments and then asked him very seriously what the real reason is that he doesn't want me to use his underwear. And believe this, we were all wrong. At least all the comments I read. There were too many of them to read them all. Maybe some of you were right. We had a lot of good guesses though. Maybe because it's not sexy on me. Maybe because they get ruined. Maybe because he's scared he'll secretly become gay. No. The reason he doesn't want me to use his underwear is he is scared I'll forget to do the laundry and he'll run out of clean underwear and have to do the laundry himself. The horror. Can you imagine? I think it's hilarious, especially combined with the fact that there are at least 50 clean pairs in his drawer. It makes sense though. He's the kind of person who likes to have large stashes of things, so he never has to worry about them running out, especially things like candles for some reason. He really likes candles. We have way too many candles stashed away. So I guess underwear has been added to that list. 50 pairs? Holy moly, is that normal? Johnny says step 1, buy bamboo underwear. Step 2, put your name on them. Step 3, when you don't need them anymore, ask your husband if he wants them. Not the arsehole, but sharing underwear is strange in my opinion. Opie responds saying, you forgot the most important step. Step 4, profit. Yeah, I can definitely see why people would find sharing weird. Not Nut says you're the arsehole. In quotes, I also bought him 8 more pairs of bamboo underwear as an apology, but he still doesn't seem to want to share his regular pairs with me. Maybe I should have been petty and bought them for myself instead. And then says, you should have just bought your own. I Am Austin says, no one's an arsehole here. I see a lot of people who think you're the arsehole. I guess it all depends. My wife wears my clothes all the time. I don't see a huge issue unless you were stretching them out, which, if you are, then that would be a problem. But as mentioned, it all depends. My wife and I have a relationship like that. When she was pregnant, I don't think I would have cared, especially if she brought me more underwear. Different strokes for different folks though, I guess. And like OP's edit said, there was a whole mix of comments. You're the arseholes, not the arseholes. Everyone sucks here. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below and let's have another story. And our next story comes from our2250 who says, am I the arsehole for getting mad at my friend for taking a vacation during my birthday? My 2 friends and I, all 38 female, always meet up for our birthdays every year. We exchange presents and do a group activity plus a meal. The birthday girl gets treated to everything. My birthday is at the end of this month. I send a group text to my friends with a restaurant I want to go to and asked if a specific date works for everyone. Sarah said she won't be here, so I asked what about another weekend, and apparently she's going to be away for a few months. She said to just celebrate without her. I felt pretty offended that she would choose to vacation during my birthday. I feel like it is a slight. Plus Sarah has been acting weird and talking to me less for months now. I text her and asked if everything was okay, and I'm a straightforward person, so I told her directly. I feel like you have been avoiding me. Why else would you purposely go away for my birthday? Sarah immediately got defensive and annoyed. She said I'm a hypocrite because I went away for her birthday weekend last year and you didn't hear her complain. Plus I am always a diva when it comes to our other friend's birthday, and overall she needs a break from our friendship because she just doesn't think I've been a good friend. So I'm not talking to her now. She has a lot of animosity towards me for no reason. Am I the arsehole for getting upset she is ditching me on my birthday? Edit, a lot of people are confused. I never skipped her birthday last year. I was just unavailable on her birthday weekend because I was going away on vacation. We celebrated her birthday a month later. And we're going to start off with the disciple Matt, who says you're the arsehole. You are 38. The world doesn't revolve around you and not every tradition is a good one. Maybe it worked for the time, but if it is no longer needed, evaluate it and recalibrate. We no longer put leeches on people, right? Life is more complex when you're older with more responsibilities. It doesn't work like it did when we're all in our 20s and could do whatever we want. Prairie Girl says you're the arsehole. You ghosted her birthday but are offended she's doing the same. You're the arsehole for that. Also, she's not skipping out on your birthday, she's just going to be gone for months. You confronted her and she told you exactly what was up. She thinks you are a hypocrite, a diva, and a bad friend, and is taking a break from you. If these opinions of hers are based on reality, you're the arsehole times 3. If you want to keep your friend group, it's time for some self-examination and personal growth. West Highway says, wow, you sound immature. You sure you are 38? People do have lives that don't revolve around you, and your birthday comes every year. It's not that big of a deal, and if you did actually go away for a birthday, then you are being a hypocrite. Grow up. You're the arsehole. Whole ad says, lol, seriously, you sound incredibly entitled and self-centered. You're 38, plenty old enough to know the world doesn't revolve around you. Her plans in life are not subject to your approval or birthday plans. Giant, you're the arsehole. And one more comment from Hairy Dirt, who says, you're the arsehole, she's going away for a few months. Of course that's going to interfere with a bunch of other plans. Even otherwise, you can't schedule vacations around all your friends. Lots of different factors go into when they can happen. It's extremely rude for you to demand this, and I can see why she needs a break. You should apologize and try to rescue the friendship, and examine whether she's right about you being a diva on the other birthdays. I bet she is. ETA, I didn't even realize you went on vacation on her birthday last year. That's a whole other level of hypocrisy. I'm starting to wonder if the other friend didn't write this post. Now, I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? I got to be honest, I went back at the very start of this one and had to look at the ages as well. I was like, wow. But let me know your thoughts. Just a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart for getting involved in today's stories. Your love, your support and time always means the absolute world to me. So once again, thank you so much for taking the time to be here. It is absolutely incredible. And hopefully I will see you in the next one. Take care and much love.